Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsoring partner, the Campaign for Black Male Achievement. I'm so excited that CBMA has now partnered with Fund to Foundation in support of their Intern X program. If you're not familiar, Intern X is an ambitious new initiative that's looking to match 10,000 skilled young adults nationwide with quality internship opportunities by the year 2020. So here's what's up. We need your help. We need you to share the word about this awesome new internship opportunity for young adults. If you're interested in learning more, you want to register, I want you to go over to bit.ly/CBMA InternX. Again, that's bit.ly/CBMA InternX. I want you to go ahead and click on the link there to register. And be sure to type or select the Campaign for Black Male Achievement as the affiliate organization that referred you. Let's go ahead and get our young folk registered today so they can begin to gain access to the benefits of this awesome program.
You're listening to the Trailblazers.fm podcast, where we'll explore the stories of today's successful Black professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders. Join us to access the knowledge, resources, and tools of these accomplished professionals and come away with the know-how, confidence, and motivation you'll need to blaze your trail. And now, here's your host, Stephen A. Hart.
What's up, Blazer Nation? Welcome to episode 172 of the Trailblazers.fm podcast. I'm your host, Stephen A. Hart. Our featured trailblazer for today is Mr. Troy Rackley. Troy's an amazing brother that I met while speaking a couple weeks back at a business expo down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And Troy's the founder of a company called NLP Aqua Solutions. And I tell you what, this is a guy I spent about 10 minutes talking with in the exhibit halls, in a noisy exhibit halls of this expo. And as he began to share with me his knowledge and his solution, his product's solution to a real problem we have, I mean, I was hearing sound bites like, just because it's clear doesn't mean it's clean. Be mindful of the water that you are drinking, as it's no different than the water you're taking a bath in. And just so many other gems that we're going to talk about today in the episode. But immediately, I was listening to him and I was wanting all of you to hear what he was saying too. So I very quickly extended an invitation, and here we are about 5 weeks after that event. And I know that you're going to be impacted by this conversation, no matter where you are, no matter what you do. We all share a common thread. We have to consume water each and every day, and it's important, right? We have to be mindful of the kind of water and be mindful of what's in our water. So anyhow, there's a lot of gems that are coming your way in today's episode. But before we get in and dive in and talk with Troy, I had to absolutely give a big ups really quick to Apple ID, New to Dallas TLC, who left us a 5-star rating and review over on Apple Podcasts. And I just wanted to share what they wrote really quickly. It reads, I've enjoyed several of your shows, but the interview with Gloria Mitchell really resonated with me. The experience of being homeless devastated me. But like Gloria, I knew that I wasn't done with what the Lord had in mind for me. I'm still rebuilding, but I've never given up. And I'm so inspired by Gloria to persevere. The present isn't permanent. Thank you for bringing these important, inspiring, and motivating stories to the world. You're truly helping people. Listen up. This is what it is all about for me. There's nothing that puts a smile on my face like reading your reviews and seeing the impact. First off, thank you so much to Gloria Mitchell, our guest of a couple weeks ago, episode 170. And also to listeners like you, I ask that you continue to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast over on Apple, if that's where you listen to your podcast. And it's my hope that you guys keep sharing these episodes with your network. I'm a small media brand. I don't have a big budget. This is my side hustle. It's almost midnight when I'm recording this. Welcome. This is when I have the gaps, when the crumb snatchers are asleep and I'm not at my 9 to 5. And so listen up, it's folks like you that have helped this community to grow and to reach others, right? With messages like Gloria's and these other amazing stories and gems in these episodes that have the power to impact others in a positive way. But I can't do it. I can't do this without you, right? So I am asking nicely and pleading with you to help me share this podcast in your social media network. Open up your WhatsApp, share it with your peeps and your fam. Maybe even consider shooting an email over, old school email over to a few people that you think this would impact most. So just help me share it up today so it can impact more people. I would really, really appreciate that. And just thanking you in advance for that. That said, let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and receive today's mission field from our featured guest, Mr. Troy Rackley. Troy, welcome to Trailblazers.fm, my brother.
Thank you, Stephen. I'm happy to be here tonight.
Listen, it was such a pleasure meeting you at the Florida, this is a big one, the Florida State Minority Suppliers Development Council's Business Expo. I had the pleasure of speaking there a couple weeks ago. And Troy, I remember when we met and we were talking and you're telling me about how much water our bodies consume when we take a shower. And I was immediately hooked. And I was like, man, I need to get this brother on the show. And we're going to talk about that in a couple minutes. Teaser for those of you listening. But we're going to start off where we do all our conversations on the podcast from a place of gratitude. So wanting to pick your brain and hear about, a blessing that you're grateful for in your life right now.
I think one of the things I'm most grateful right now is the opportunity that I have to really build a legacy. In terms of a business. I mean, when people think of legacy families, you always think of Rockefellers, Kennedys. You very rarely hear about people like us. And so I think for me, having this opportunity and having a technology that the big guys don't have, having solutions the big guys don't have, allows me an opportunity to really create a legacy for not only my family, but my team's families that, Steve Jobs talked about making a dent in the world. I think we have that same opportunity to make that dent from a water standpoint because it is a universal opportunity for improvement.
Listening to your story and your business, man, no question in my mind, it's a matter of time before you are a personality like a Jobs or, any of these other bigs. I can't wait to talk about this, but background-wise, let's talk a little bit here. I met you in Florida. And I believe you're in Florida, yes? You live in Florida?
Yes, I'm over in the Sarasota area.
You're in Sarasota. I went to school in Tampa. I'm a USF Bull. I don't know if
my daughter goes to school there.
Yeah, I'm a proud grad of University of South Florida in Tampa.
Okay.
My sister still lives in Riverview. Okay. Next time I get down that side, we'll have to connect.
For sure.
But I read about you attending Ohio University, and I wasn't sure if you grew up in Ohio or Florida.
Yes. No, I grew up in Ohio. I'm originally from Akron, Ohio. Most people, when they hear Akron, they know LeBron James.
That's right. Yeah. That's your cousin, right?
Well, no, actually, I went to high school with his mom, actually.
Really?
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah, born and raised Akron, Ohio. I was fortunate to accept a full scholarship to play football at Ohio University and studied industrial engineering. When I grew up, I was a chess champion. I was a math wizard. So I always knew from third grade I wanted to be an engineer.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. So at what point did the opportunity to get into this type of technology come about?
Well, because of my career was spent with names like Pepsi, Coke, Nestle, Campbell's Soup, Sherwin-Williams, water was always the majority of the products that I was working with. And even though I was in operations, when I had an opportunity to really re-engineer this technology, it really dawned on me that when I ran a few tests, that after the re-engineering, it actually demonstrated some things that I had never seen before in life. And so I thought, let me just run a test. And it took me literally 5 years to vet this thing because I wasn't about to start something that I was going to have somebody ask me a question that I couldn't answer about it. So I wanted to make sure. And when you go up against PhDs who have all their theory about various things, it was very difficult because I had to learn some things that I didn't even know about in terms of science and things like even being an engineer. Like I graduated in 1988, so I just started this right around 2013. And so one of the things I wanted to make sure was before I go out there, I need to go out there ready because people are going to be coming after me and questioning me. Because for me to go into a room and speak certain languages, first of all, when I come in and I speak and I'm articulate, I get looked at funny anyway. But then when I start speaking a language that some of these folks who are, either scientists or chemists, they're thinking, well, how can you talk like us? That language sounds familiar. So I knew I had something, but I needed to make sure before I brought it out.
I was just thinking about this that, I had a couple of conversations like this today. I mean, people don't necessarily, I don't know if it's a social thing and, how people have been normalized, but they're not expecting a Black man to be able to articulate and be as smart and driven as you.
Well, no, they're not expecting that. And I think we have to continue to defy the odds.
Absolutely.
By coming out there and standing strong. Even though when people may say things, and I've been challenged on a few things because, people say, well, your background is engineering. My background is science. But what I say is when I've demonstrated something from statistical results, I don't care what the background is, results are results.
Absolutely.
Because when we go to school, we get the theory of things. When we get out into the real world, we get the practical of things.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into this. Tell us a little bit about NLP Aqua Solutions, and I'd love for you to maybe share what's driving you right now in the work you're doing today.
Okay. NLP Aqua Solutions, like I said, our company, what we do is we customize solutions for clean, fresh, safe water. And what's beautiful about our technology and our systems is our technology goes anywhere water flows. So what the industries between healthcare, agriculture, aquaculture, horticulture, anywhere there's water being used, which is in every process in the world, will use water at some point. And when I look at the things that we've been able to do, the world is our oyster in terms of opportunity. So what really drives me here is to be able to make a difference in an area of being a giver. My mother was always a giver. And one of the things that I wanted to do was say, how do I continue to pay it forward and give back? I mean, we've donated systems to families in dire need. And one of the things I wanted to make sure was when we put something out there, I want to make sure that the people that we work with understand that every business is in business to make money. But our business is to make money to see who else we can help. Because the servant leader is the way I was raised, and that's my personality. So I want to make sure that everybody has access to clean, fresh, safe water. And when I say everybody, that includes animals, that includes people, because it's a God-given right that you should have clean, fresh, and safe water.
I love that I actually read about you giving a percentage of your revenues back to wounded veterans to a relief fund, and found that it caught my attention, to say the least. And listening to it right now, that hits a chord for me. Love that.
Well, let me comment on that, because I met these gentlemen we've always been looking for a way to give. And part of that started with a foundation that my mother instilled in me. When I was in college, my freshman year, I decided I thought I knew everything. And so my freshman year, I didn't go to class as much as I should have. And I was playing football. I was on top of the world. But after that first quarter, I had a very low GPA. And one of the things that my coach told me that he wanted to change my major. And he said, I need you to change to physical education. And I thought, I came down here to be an engineer. And after battering around the conversation, he told me, he said, son, I just need to sit down and tell you. He said, Black people are just not engineers. And I said,
excuse me?
Yeah, it's exactly. But, and growing up the way I did, that was a fight or flight moment. So I thought, it's time to flight. I said, you'll be the first to see my degree when I get it. And the point I want to make there was I set my mind to come down there to be an engineer. But when I shared that with my mother, I thought she was going to be upset, take the earrings off the wig and just ready to fight. And so one of the things I said to her is, here's what my coach told me. And all she said was, do you believe him? And I said, no. And she said, never forget you're limitless. And I thought, okay. So I trademarked a phrase that says, the limitless you, it can be done. And it is whatever you define it to be. In fact, my entire family has the word limitless tattooed on our body.
Really?
So part of that was making sure that from a foundation standpoint, we always knew that we can achieve whatever we set out if we have a limitless mindset. So part of the giving was that's one of the foundations that we give back through community outreach. But when I met the gentleman at the Wounded Veterans Relief Fund, I was looking for another way. How do we give? And to find out that over 87% of the revenue actually goes to the veteran, that was impressive, because a lot of nonprofits say a lot of things, and then the chief executive officers riding around in limousines, first class tickets, and beach houses and everything else. So I was impressed enough with that. But after talking to some of the veterans and seeing them cry and say how grateful they are about these donations, we just spoke with one just last week or a couple of weeks ago. You know, he was a Marine sniper. He was in his car, and he was in a situation where the time that our quarterly check came in lifted him from a very dire situation.
Wow.
And initially, we were going to say that 10% of that revenue for that brand, we're just going to do for the month of December. But we've decided that we're going to give 10% back to these wounded vets on a global basis with what we do. Even though I've never served, but this gives me an opportunity to serve others that have served me and my family and the rest of the American people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that, man. God bless you. There's something you said to me, and I brought it up at the beginning of this conversation, but when we met, you talked about the fact that a lot of people say they don't drink the water out of their tap. And Troy, you hooked me in when you said how much water our bodies consume when we take a shower. Bring me back and share with Blazer Nation what you shared with me.
Okay. Basically, I call it somewhat of a trick question, because when I ask people, especially in areas like Florida or somewhere else, I said, do you drink out of the tap? And most of the answers is no. And they say, well, I drink bottled water. And then part of the education piece, I'll say, well, 93% of the bottled water in the world has microplastics in it. Just note to yourself. But I said, the largest organ on our body is our skin. So if you think the water that you're avoiding in your tap is any different than the water that you have coming out of your shower, you're mistaken. And considering it's our largest organ, a 15-minute shower is the equivalent to drinking 8 glasses of water. And
15-minute shower.
15 minutes.
Is equivalent to drinking 8
glasses of water.
Oh my gosh.
And that's the problem I have with boiled water advisors, is they say boil your water, or make your ice, but then they'll make a statement to say it's okay to shower and bathe. How is that possible? If it's bad enough to drink, your body is 70% water, so we have to control what we put on it or in it to mix with that 70%. We just got to be more knowledgeable and educated around this, because there's so much stuff in the water, and we're not avoiding it by not drinking it out of the tap.
Wow. Listen, you just gave me the chills, man. Oh my gosh. Listen, what really sparked this NLP, and what makes your system so different than what else is out there?
And just so from origination, NLP stands for next level of performance. And the reason why I named the company that is, no matter how good you are, there's always a next level, which takes me to the limitless mindset of always keep striving for better and better. But what makes us different is one word: customize. One size does not fit all. A lot of companies come out and say, well, we're going to put a system under your sink, or put a system coming in your house. And it's a cookie cutter system. They put that same system everywhere. What we do is we want to analyze your water. We want to know what's in it. And then we want to know the system that we have to design to pull all the things out of it that doesn't need to be there. And so that's the difference for us, is we want to restore your water back to its original design by nature. Not purify it by taking out the things you can see and smell, but restore it back to its original design from nature.
So what have been some of the results? I'm trying to think of, like, immediately, right? Like, I'm like, why can't a water treatment process like you would have in your system be something that cities like Flint, for example, would jump on with their crisis?
What I'll say to that, sometimes you just have to want to really solve the problem. Because the thing is when people look at, for example, the Flint situation, it's their initial situation was lead, and that's nationally known. They had lead in the water when they switched it over. Okay. And what happened is it leached from the pipes. And so in a situation like that, what we have to be mindful of is 12 people in Flint, Michigan died. It had nothing to do with lead. It was Legionella in the water. So that was a bacteria that's really under the radar. Most people aren't talking about that. Oh. And so, but when you look at a situation like that, the municipalities, the way they get around this is they'll tell you that right up until the water leaves our water plant, everything is fine. This is where we have to take matters into our own hands, because they'll test it and they'll show you the results. But when it gets onto your property, you own it. So if you've got, infrastructure or piping that needs to be changed due to corrosion or bacteria or whatever, you have to do that yourself. The city is not responsible for that. So to respond with, let's just give everybody an allocation of bottled water. Once again, people aren't showering with that bottled water. But one of the things we need to make sure is when you look at those things like lead and all those other things, you have to have a very intricate system to pull out everything, because it wasn't just lead. It was a thing called trihalomethanes, which is when a chemical mixes with organic matter and it creates organic compounds that never existed before. So what's going on out there is we have water issues. We're getting more water problems than we are solutions. And we're trying to solve today's problems with last year's solutions. So we just have to be mindful that we did a test in Flint and we did a before and after, and we've got an independent third-party lab that showed all these things was in this water where these people were getting their heads burned because of the chloroform that was in the water. They had sores all over them, high lead, high bacteria. We put our system in. The end result was nothing was detected that was inferior in that water. But we're not GE, we're not Siemens. And as soon as people see who I am, it's like, okay, well, we need to keep looking.
So politics is what's stopping you from being able to access somewhere?
Politics is a big part of it. It's one of those things that you have to really want to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I learned in Flint was some people thought if they find a solution, then some people may not be able to have a case against the government. So it's the mentality of, I'll continue to suffer because I'm going to get paid. And I know some of that was going on. And it was just very, very unfortunate, because still today, people will say the problem is not resolved. Mm-hmm. But the city and all the politicians said the problem is resolved because they're talking about the problem at the water plant. The problem is in the homes.
How many cities like Flint are out there right now? I always wonder if there's more.
There is. There is. What's unique about that, we have done some research that, and this is really just around lead. There's over 3,800 cities that are doubly as worse as Flint.
Excuse me?
Over 3,800 cities, even just from a lead level, double the lead results from Flint, Michigan.
What?
Now, those aren't in the news because they have one thing in common in terms of the demographics of the community. And you could probably take a wild guess of the coincidence of what the people look like. So there's no sense of urgency to fix these things. And when you look at over 32 million people a year get gastro issues just from viruses in water. And those are the things you can't see. You're not going to look at a glass of water and be able to say, oh, those got viruses, oh, that's got bacteria. You can smell chlorine. You can see sediment. But when you're talking about nearly 4,000 cities worse than Flint, that nobody's talking about. It's time for us to stand up and say we have to take care of this problem ourselves. Because the fact that the government hasn't fixed it in Flint, Michigan since 2014, 5 years later, the 3,800 cities that are worse, nobody's even talking about it.
Troy, you touched on something earlier, and you said, the other bigs would see kind of where you come in and it would create some conflict. Have you developed technology that some of these guys aren't able to compete with? Like, how's your system different?
That's our competitive advantage, is we have a technology that they don't have. Our technology does not require any electricity, gas, or air. It's green. So our technology does things that what they can do, they need to either use heavy infrastructure of electricity or they need to strip everything out of the water. our systems, reverse osmosis is the most common thing out there when people talk about water treatment, especially for drinking. And some people do it for the whole house. Our system can take out everything that an RO does, but it leaves all the precious minerals that were designed to be in there. It leaves them in there. But that's new. That's a paradigm change. So with our systems, for example, we put our systems in. One of the biggest problems in America is the infrastructure. People say, oh, we get corroded pipes. We're an old country. So the thing is it's over $1 trillion to replace all that. It's never going to happen until a line breaks. They'll replace them as they break. The reason why it's never going to happen is there's not a lot of ROI to say, let's fix all this piping for $1 trillion, and that'll help people from a lifestyle standpoint, from a quality of water. Well, where's the money return on that? So with our technology, we're actually able to put it in line and start to release some of that stuff without having to change the infrastructure. So when our technology goes in, it doesn't allow any scale to continue. And the existing scale, over time, it'll just soften it up and push it through. So it basically gives your pipes a colonoscopy. So it's a new technology that people don't know about. And that's one of our biggest opportunities is people don't know about us. But the people that do know about us, when they see the results they're getting, it's only a matter of time. And it's one of those things that we have an opportunity here to not just change here locally. We got an opportunity to change the world.
Right. And you have, right? I mean, you're now global. You have projects in Canada, and I see Amsterdam, Sweden, Europe. What kind of industries and types of businesses are you helping today?
Right now, we've got our technology on a fish farm. And I met a gentleman at the conference there in Miami who's been fish farming for 40 years. And I shared with him what we were doing. And he said, he's taking about 12 months to harvest. And I said, we have a proprietary water technology. We're harvesting without any steroids or anything that's non-organic. We're doing it in 7 months. He said, I've never heard of such a thing. I said, it's being done. And I said, and we are doing it. So we've got the Aqua Culture. We've got a opportunity for, and I don't usually hear these things, but a company in Italy called Melee, the big appliance. They do dishwashers and coffee machines. A dishwasher is like $8,000. You'll never wash my dishes for $8,000. But anyway, there's a market out there for people like that. They want to try our technology in their system because the hard water, which is a global problem, is really messing up their heating elements, and they're very expensive. So we're going to be doing a trial with them. The largest rose grower in Amsterdam wants to do a trial with us. A hospital in Sweden saw our hospital results here in the US, and they said, we have the exact same problem. We didn't know anybody had a solution. So we're getting really heavy in the cannabis industry, because cannabis and aquaculture and aquaponics, that's the future. So we've got 2 projects. We just won to provide a water system for a very large cannabis operation that's going to be coming up in the state of Massachusetts. So there's, dairy farms, there's hog farms, there's residential, even, like I say, healthcare hospitals, swimming pools. We put our system on swimming pools. The reduction of chemical usage is beyond measure. Because people don't realize that, 60% of harmful chlorine is coming through your shower. So there's not an industry right now that we're not touching.
Let me ask you, is there an individual solution that so as you're talking right now, you have me like, what coming out of my pipe? Right? And I'm wondering, is there plans or is there a way to create, a solution that improves the water coming into our individual homes?
Yes. We do a system that when we do a home, we do what we call a point of entry. Because like I said, the municipality is responsible right up to your property.
Right.
We take it from there. But what we do is we do a system that says, here's point of entry. What that's going to do is protect all your appliances, your hot water heater. It's going to protect your dishwasher, anywhere you use water in there. And then we do a point of use, which is under the sink, which is for your drinking water. The under the sink one, why you may say, well, why do you need both? The under the sink goes a much deeper level because the under the sink unit allows you to filter out bacteria, cysts, virus, and trace pharmaceuticals. 50% of the pharmaceuticals that are dumped down the toilets end up in the water system. And it's happening all over the country. So we make sure that our drinking water system allows you to be in a situation that if there's a boiled water advisory, you don't have to worry about it. It won't get through that system. But then our third component is we put a system in the shower. And we do that because Legionella is in the potable water system. And Legionella comes through inhaling the water, in terms of mist in the shower. So when you got the steam in the shower, that's where it comes from. So we design a system to make sure you're protected there as well. And the largest filter company on the planet that was in one of the hospitals we were in had a unit that was lasting 2 to 3 weeks. We put a system in there that lasted 6 months. So we've got a system that, once again, no one else has. Mm-hmm. And people wonder, how do you get access to this thing? Mm-hmm. It's because I know what the market is needing out there, and I know where to find it. So when we do a whole house, we want to protect you you and your family. Anywhere you're going to come in contact with water, we want to make sure you're protected.
Troy, how expensive is that kind of technology for somebody?
Well, that's an interesting word, is expensive. Mm-hmm. Because what I like to say is how valuable it is versus how expensive it is.
Because right now, you have me ready to go upstairs and be afraid to inhale the steam in my shower. Our systems for the total house, they start at $4,000. All right.
2 of our biggest competitors start at $7,000 and $8,000.
Wow.
And the reason why we do it the way we do it is we need this to be successful, not just for ourselves, but for other people.
Right.
Because when people don't understand the chemistry and what's actually happening in water, it's easy to be duped to think that I just drink out of my refrigerator and that filter is fine. Mm-hmm. That is fine if you care just about what you smell and what you can see. That's fine. But it doesn't go to that deeper level of the things. What I always tell people is what's going to hurt you in water is the things you can't see. And so that leaves me with just because it's clear doesn't mean it's clean.
When you said that, man. Oh my gosh. No, Troy, listen, man. Truly, I'm so encouraged by the work you're doing, and I just want to see a brother like you thrive. I said at the top of the call, and no listeners can understand me. I think you have a Steve Jobs-like opportunity here with this technology. I don't see any reason why. We talked about some of the challenges, the obvious challenges that you face, both from, would it be the racial challenges of being at the head of a company like this and what that brings in, and also being a smaller company against the giants who, have lobbied and I'm sure have all the connections to prevent up-and-comers like you. Are there any other challenges standing in the way that, you've had to work through?
Oh, honestly, the biggest challenge is what we do is not in the textbook. So when you're talking to people who have built their careers on, I got a PhD from Cornell or Harvard and everything else, that's all well and good in theory. But when people can't understand and choose not to understand, because sometimes it's not that you don't understand, but it's who's delivering it. You don't want someone who doesn't look like you to seem smarter than you, and you have a PhD and they don't. So one of the biggest challenges we have is to share with people, here's what we do and how we do it, and people to believe it. So what we do is we don't try to, over science it to you. We just say, look at these results. Call that person. It's as simple as that, because I can give you all the paperwork, I can give you all the certifications, but nothing is going to be better than giving you results. Results is what speaks.
I have the image of Cuba Gooding Jr., show me the money.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what people want to say, show me the results.
Yeah, absolutely.
But unfortunately, some people say, well, I need to understand the science. I need you to tell me the proprietary bits. I'm never going to tell you that.
Absolutely. And you should never.
And I won't. But somehow, some cases, people have walked me right out the door. If you're not willing to share that, then we're not interested. Then I'll keep walking, because I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Because
what we have is quite special. And just like anything else, it's not for everybody, but it can be for anybody.
I love that, man. And through all these experiences, I mean, so much wisdom packed in, right? We could talk about the wisdom you could share for days, but there are other young Black men that are on the come up right now, trying to bring their ideas and their technology to the table. What's your advice to young entrepreneurs and young leaders right now who are navigating that, like stepping into this for the first time?
I would say, going back to the phrase I talked about, figure out what your it is. What is it you're trying to do? And look yourself in the mirror and say, the limitless you, it can be done. So define your it and never waver. Never let any adversity knock you down to the point where you just give up and quit, because all we have to do in business is solve problems. If you can solve a problem better than somebody else, you've got a business. So I would say for the young and up and comers, surround yourself with people that believe in you, that support you, but that are also going to challenge you. You know, they're not going to just roll over and say, yes, you're the greatest and everything you do is correct. It's
hold you accountable.
Yeah, it's having that accountability partner to make sure that you're able to, you know, be able to stand toe to toe with someone and be coachable.
Right.
Accept feedback, but never quit. And no matter how tough it gets, after every dark night, there's a bright day. You know, and you just can't. I mean, I've been on the brinks of bankruptcy, but I'm also a man of faith, and I'm a believer that what I'm doing, I was destined to do.
Yes.
So you just have to have that belief about yourself that here is my why, here's my destiny. And when you're that passionate about it, nobody or nothing's going to stop you.
Right. And I want to encourage you, man. Keep pushing, you know, keep fighting the good fight. I'm so encouraged by his story, and I will do everything in my power to bring awareness and attention to the work you're doing, and encourage you to keep sharing this message, man, because it will break through. It absolutely will. I believe that. Before I let you go, our Blazer Nation loves to hear the resources of our guests. And so I wanted to pick your brain on any books that you've read or you're reading that you think we should absolutely add to the summer queue.
Well, certainly when you talk about young entrepreneurs, one of my favorites is The Entrepreneurial Roller Coaster by Darren Hardy, because it is a roller coaster.
Absolutely
it's
is.
Not always up and it's not always down. There's going to be times where it's exciting and there's going to be times where it's broke down. You just can never quit. So the Entrepreneurial Roller Coaster is one. I mean, I've got a Fab 5 that are my favorites. Entrepreneurial Roller Coaster. Of course, Think and Grow Rich.
Yes.
The thing that puzzled me is I didn't get to that book until my 40s. Wow. It's been around since 1937.
Yeah.
But I also didn't grow up in a community that encouraged me to read books like that. So I think everybody needs to read that book for sure. And not just read it, study it.
Yeah. Have you ever listened to it in audio? I keep bringing this up on the podcast.
I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it.
Oh my gosh. It's like a whole other perspective on it.
And it's narrated by Napoleon Hill himself, the one that I'm listening to.
Yes.
And it's just absolutely phenomenal. So that's something I would say, don't read these books, study them. There's a big difference between reading and studying. So those two. And then one, it's called If It Ain't Broke, Break It. And it's named by Robert Kriegel. What that book taught me was the next level of performance. It's always an opportunity to take it to the next level. It's always an opportunity to improve it. So if it ain't broke, break it. And then as a man thinketh, you know, your mindset makes all the difference in the world. And that one doesn't even really need any explanation. And the final one is The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. You know, one of the biggest takeaways that I had there that I always live my life by is always leave people with an impression of increase and always have an attitude of gratitude.
Yes.
You know, so those would be my favorites that I would say minimally everybody should at least read it once, but depending on the path you want to take, those are some great study guides.
Yes. Love it. I will add a couple of these to the queue for sure. Last question for you. Actually, before I ask you that question, tell our listeners how we can stay connected and learn more about the work you're doing.
We're getting very active on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/NLP Aqua. So Facebook and Instagram are really our go-to platforms. Our Instagram is naiad.living.water, and that's NAIAD.living.water. Those are the platforms we post our testimonials, but we also put the knowledge out there about things like a 15-minute shower and what it does. So we're not just interested in selling, we're interested in educating as well, because then you can make an educated decision when it comes to what you're going to try to do for your own water and your family.
I love it. Troy, thank you so much, my brother. It's been real having you on the show.
Let me just make one more thing. If I could leave everybody with one last thing.
Yes.
As a to-do, because I heard you do this on one of the other ones, is I love the commercial that Samuel L. Jackson talked about with Capital One, what's in your wallet. Figure out what's in your water.
Figure out what's in your water. Yes. Yes, I actually did short you on that one. That is the one action.
And if you don't know, go to ewg.org. ewg.org. Type in your zip code. Mm-hmm. That's a nonprofit organization that, from what I hear, the government is trying to shut it down. But what that's going to give you is an analysis of the water in your area. It's going to tell you the contaminants in it and whether they're cancer causing or whatever. You will be shocked when you put your zip code in there to see what's happening. So it's time for us to take control of our lives. If we want the longevity, 70% of us is water. So what you mix it with is either going to dilute it or it's going to keep it clear.
Wow. You left me speechless. You see, I rarely ever get to the end of an episode. I think that's the first time that I do ask somebody what's the one action. You have me here ready to not take a shower tonight.
Well, and it's just get educated. We want to educate people.
I love it.
We want to educate people.
I appreciate you doing that and encouraging us to really give thought to one of the things that every last person in this conversation shares a common thread with, right?
Right.
We're all impacted by that. So lots of wisdom and gems packed in and actionables that we can take to correct that if there is an issue with the water. So thank you, my brother. God bless you.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
I'm Steve Nehart, and you've been listening to the Trailblazers.fm podcast. If you're not yet doing so, consider following Trailblazers.fm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and feel free to connect with me over on LinkedIn. Whenever you're posting stories or social media posts about Trailblazers.fm, be sure to use the hashtag TBPod and hashtag Mission Fuel. We'll be able to see you, and I'll be able to show some love. And in case you're not aware, our show notes for all our episodes can be found on our website over at tbpod.com. Now, if today was your first time listening, I just want to say big ups, enough respect for checking us out. You've made this Jamaican guy really happy that you're here with us today. And I'd love your help with keeping this Black excellence flowing each and every week. So if you haven't yet subscribed, hop on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Search Trailblazers.fm and subscribe, rate, and review us there. Be sure to browse through some of our past episodes. There are more than 150 published episodes now, and a little something is out there for everyone to help keep the knowledge flowing. We grow when you, as part of our Blazer Nation community, shares and invites your friends and family to listen to an episode you think might impact them most. We believe that someone listening to these inspiring stories are going to be moved to make significant changes that have generational impact for many others, both now and well into the future. Don't miss next week's episode. New episodes are released each and every Monday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern. Blazer Nation, go out today and find a way to rise above, go way beyond, and keep blazing your trail.